Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Traveler Talk. We're here with episode 2, and besides a couple quick updates of things that have been going on in the Exodus universe that you'll definitely want to know about, this episode will be all about Jun, our main character, Jun Aslan, that we'll be taking control of to fight the good fight against the Celestials in the Exodus video game. And I'm joined here by my awesome co-host, Emma. How are you doing here today?
Very excited to speak about June. Absolutely.
Yes. You heard it here first, guys. This is the June episode. We're covering all of the basics with June, some early speculations with everything revealed so far. Today is March 4th, 2025. I'm sure we'll get more and more details as we lead up to the release of the game, which, funnily enough, we actually do have some news on when we can expect the video game. Let's actually go ahead and start off with that one. And I'm going to read off screen here for anyone listening on maybe Spotify. As we look to the Playing to Win strategy or beyond 2025, we expect total Hasbro revenue to grow at a mid-single-digit growth rate from 2025 through 2027, with the acceleration driven by momentum in Magic, a stronger entertainment slate in toys, and the launch of internally published video games, starting with Exodus in 2026. Now, you may be asking, where is this even from? Well, this is from a Hasbro investors meeting that's held for their earnings call so that their investors know what to look forward to and potential spikes in investment and returns on investment later in the future. Hasbro actually owns Wizards of the Coast, who inherently is publishing Exodus Become the Traveler. So for any updates of this front of any potential release days, release windows when it comes to internal marketing and investing, we have to look to Hasbro, and some sleuths over on the official Reddit for the game have done just that. So guys, 2026 is shaping up to be the year for Exodus. Emma, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, actually, I'm happy it's not right now. And I know that a lot of people are a bit disappointed or a lot disappointed. It's not this year, but I think we want a game that is well made, and 2026 seems like a good date. And we don't know which quarter, if it's going to be in spring, if it's going in summer. We don't know exactly when. So it could be early 2026. It could be the end. I hope early, but so I'm glad to know that. I think we all wanted to know when it's going to be, and now we have a clearer view of when we can expect the game to come out, and maybe that gives us also a better idea of the next reveal and things like that. So it's a good thing, and just disappointed we didn't have an official date, but we are going to take what we found, and they better hide those data, because we are going to go and look for them now.
Yeah, no, I was actually very surprised. I mean, I've been looking at investor stuff for stuff on the GTA side of things, because we do run a GTA 6 podcast where we look into this exact same stuff, but it never occurred to me to look at the parent company for Exodus, and, lo and behold, someone actually looked this up and found this on the official Reddit. And I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised. It does seem like, because in this document, they do list 2026 as like the year that Exodus is going to be releasing. And of course, things are always subject to change. There can be internal delays. Something could go wrong. Maybe there's a major bug that pops up that they have to clear. Maybe they don't think it's polished enough and they push the date back to like 2027. Fingers crossed they don't, out of necessity, but it could always happen. Yeah. But I'm just surprised that this game is coming so early. I mean, Archetype was founded in 2020? Even if you took an entire year to put together the team, brainstorm the project, and you solidify a lot of the basis that the game is going to have and encompass and how choices are going to work in the game, I'm actually very surprised that we're getting this somewhat relatively soon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but because I'm working with in my official job, I'm working with a mining company, and they need to give dates to their stakeholder. So that just might be, they need to give a first date. So 2026 could be just, hey, we intend to get out the game at those dates. But as you said, it might just be something, and we know it can be delayed. But I will take it as it's going to be in 2026, but my more business brain
Hmm.
says it could be just we have a date because they need to give a date, and that's that. So
That makes sense. That makes sense. Especially because I actually am not of the belief, as some of the people on the unofficial Discord, I'm not of the belief that this is a quarter one, maybe even quarter two game. I'm thinking like late summer, maybe the fall, possibly winter. Those are the seasons that I see this game coming out. If it does land on 2026. But I would definitely, even if they think they're 100% done with the game, I personally would love like a giant once over where they polish everything, they play test like all the way through with some Q&A people, and just make sure that everything is polished up, right? This is the start of a budding franchise, and if the video game comes out to a rocky start, that could
Mhm.
mean a lot of bad things for the franchise as a whole. So it's very important that Exodus's first video game entry takes off not only in a way that we want gameplay and story wise, but also just as a functioning video game as well.
Mhm. Absolutely. If there's too many bugs, people are going to not with reason to complain, and it's just going to crash the game. So we saw what happened before. I remember it was anyway. I know that a game that was very, very expected just came, and there was so many bugs. Everybody, even those that were loving the game, were so disappointed. So no, we don't want that for Exodus. So that's why I'm happy to have a date, but I rather not have anything and just okay, when it's going to be ready, we are going to have it. No promise. I don't care as long as we have something. But that's the rational part of my brain. The excited, it's just like yes.
Yeah, and then speaking of getting off on the right foot for the franchise, we actually already see that the tabletop RPG is doing just that. For those of
Yes.
you that don't know, officially through Exodus's official YouTube channel, they are running a campaign for their tabletop RPG before it's even officially released to the public through their campaign called Star Heist, an Exodus story which is actually being dungeon mastered by James Olin himself, the creative mind and person who put the whole team together for Archetype Entertainment. So really, James Olin as a dungeon master really is going to give us some hints here and there, either about lore, maybe some of the NPC characters that are in this first episode, as we see with Elise, and much more throughout their other 7 episodes that have been teased. In the comments section, they said that these episodes are supposed to come out weekly, although episode 2 is so far staggering behind that weekly deadline that they kind of put for themselves but didn't commit to. And there is supposed to be 8 episodes total, which means we have 7 more to come. Emma, what are your initial thoughts for Star Heist? Do you like it? Are you excited? What do you expect to see from this little campaign they're running on their YouTube channels and stuff like that?
So I was very surprised that actually we had something from the RPG, because I didn't expect them to put something out before everybody gets the book. So I was surprised. That was my first reaction, and very excited. And it was fun. You can see that I think that the players weren't really in the habit to play together. So maybe not play at all. Because I was seeing that I think our world was like checking how to roll. So it was funny to see them try to find their footings. And James was hilarious, to be honest. Just watching him DM the game and making those faces was just funny.
Yeah.
And no, I'm very excited because, of course, I love lore. It's like world building and the lore of Exodus, the Exodus universe, is what drew me into the game. And I hope some of those things we see in this episode, and we will see in the whole series, is going to give us an idea of what will be at least some in the game. Not all, because it's not the same exactly, but have a better idea of what is actually Exodus about. So, and of course we have Elise, and I was so happy to finally meet her. It was fun. So yes, I have a lot of fun, and my 10-year-old kid just loves the episode. So
Which
that
is
was a bonus.
awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I loved when you mentioned that. You were like, "Yes, they love it. You know, they love seeing it. They're asking for episode 2." I'm like,
Oh
"Join
yeah.
the crew. Everyone's waiting for episode 2 now." But yeah, no, I agree with you on pretty much every point. Like, I'm very excited to see where this goes. Minor criticisms. This is their first go.
Hmm.
So they don't really know. It looks like the full rule set themselves, the players. I mean, they're a little bit confused about what is considered a bonus action or a full-on actions on their
Hmm.
turn. But hey, I have those hiccups all the time when I play too, so it's not really that big of a deal to me. Man, even in my most Baldur's Gate 3 run that I just held, I was like, wait, why don't I have this action anymore? And I'm like, oh, it's a bonus action. What am I doing? But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think the players themselves are awesome. They have awesome different personalities, even just
Hmm.
within the characters that they're personifying. And I think one of the coolest parts that I saw was episode 1, and everyone's cosplaying their character. Like we had Villalobos as the cataphract pilot. He had like a metal arm as well, which looked really cool. We had
Yes.
the inventor who ended up dressing up like a scientist, and then Orwell, the awakened pig, who just has like little piggy
Boar!
ears and a
It's a
snout.
boar!
Yeah, boar. There we go. The boar. And it's just like, man, this is awesome. Like, this is a great start. I'm hoping that they kind of fine tune some things, like we've mentioned before.
You
But
forgot
so
Ursula.
far, oh, Ursula. How can I forget
Ursula.
the biggest, like, divisive thing in this campaign, because they call her a silicate, and now everybody is confused because from what we
Oh.
know, silicates and daemons are supposed to be different, but that's a whole different conversation.
But
Overall, Star Heist so far is a lot of fun.
yeah.
And I can't wait for episode 2, honestly. And like you said, I'm sure we're going to get some teases to the actual world. I mean, we already have one. Apparently, Persepolis, this is a spoiler for the episode if you haven't watched it, so definitely
Yeah.
watch out for that. But Persepolis is revealed at the very beginning, has these underground layers and tunnels that are all like essentially layers that were built upon ruined civilizations. So just random explorers, this group included, go down there to find celestial remnant artifacts and stuff, which
Mm.
is super interesting. Something that we didn't even think of before this tabletop RPG campaign came to fruition.
That was hinted a bit here and there on the webpage because they speak about the Dynasty and the fact that Orion and June are scavenger. So we
Yes.
know that there's something on the planet, but now we know that even under the big cities, because Persepolis is one of the big cities,
Mm-hmm.
and there's actually those race ruins of civilization. They are everywhere. So it's very interesting because now we actually can feel that. And discovering the capacity of a silicate, even if it's not anyway silicate or demon, we'll see what one day we will know. It was very exciting and interesting.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't checked out the full Star Heist episode, it will be linked down below in the description on both YouTube and Spotify, so you can go ahead and check that out yourself. We'll definitely be talking about the episodes as they come out, so if you want some little spoiler-free conversations about that, make sure to keep checking in. But for now, we're moving on to our major topic for today, as teased, June. Now, we don't know if these 3 are all June as we theorized before, although I do think so. Full link to that theory will be linked down in the description as well. But we do have a lot of basics that we need to cover so that you know what and how June is supposed to be in the lead up to the reveal for the whole Exodus game. We're going to go ahead and start off with this, which is actually linked on the official site for Exodus, which will also be linked down below. And I'll go ahead and read this all for you guys now. You are the traveler, humanity's last hope. You are June, the heir of Orion Aslan, a legendary traveler from the world of Lydon, a renegade amongst the stars, a hunter of secrets and alien technology. Inheriting the gift of neural induction from your mother Ava, born of celestial heritage, you are able to interact with celestial technology unlike other humans. We'll talk more about that a little later. Orion, your father, realized Lydon was slowly dying, succumbing to an ancient celestial technovirus known as the Rot. Stopping the Rot was beyond any human capabilities, even those of the mighty Orion Aslan. To ensure humanity's survival, Orion and Ava sired a child genetically engineered to bridge the world of humans and celestials. Humanity's last hope. That child is you. Your destiny is to lead the fight for humanity's salvation, traveling on interstellar missions at the edge of light speed. Days for you are decades for friends and loved ones back home. Entire lifespans may pass in your absence. You will be forced to make sacrifices, pulling everyone you love at risk. Your choices will have far-reaching consequences. Many will be impacted based on the decades that pass in your absence. You may find that you have harmed or helped your loved ones, but you cannot predict the outcomes you create in the abyss of time. The fate of those you love most and your entire civilization hangs in the balance. How much are you willing to sacrifice? And I mean, if this doesn't hype you up for the game story, I mean, I really don't know what's going to do it for you. Do you have any initial thoughts on this, Emma?
When I read that, I thought, okay, we have a messiah in your hand, and that's really exciting because they already said that our choice as June are going to be, as they say, far-reaching consequences, and it's very interesting. And no, I really was excited because personally, who doesn't want to play a hero? And anyway, I'm going to keep the hero aspect for a later segment of the. But that's really interesting and intriguing, and I was hyped when I read that the first time, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think one of the ones that gets me, like, everything about this excites me, right? But this final big paragraph towards the bottom here is one of my favorites. It says, you may find that you have harmed or helped your loved ones, but you cannot predict the outcomes you create in the abyss of time. So maybe something looks like it's the right decision at the time. Everything's pointing that you should do this in order to help everybody, but then maybe time dilation takes effect, you come back to light on, and you've ruined everything. You killed everybody that you love inadvertently through a choice or decision that you made that you thought was going to be amazing. And I think something like that is something we've been lacking with like choice structure in these decision-based games for a while. And this excites me so much leading up to some of these choices that we're going to be having in the game.
I can imagine like it's like a cascade actually consequence. Like you think it's a good thing, but the choice maybe just one choice you made before that, and it just screw everything over. And then because I hope they are going to do that. It's not not one choice, because we're going to have to make some choices, I think, along the game. So it's very interesting to see how all those choices going to get together on either we save Leiden or we just kill everyone, as you said, and end game. But you are the end game.
Like for me, it's like thinking of it from a game development perspective, like just because they've teased that at the very least, every mission is going to have one major choice. I forget which Q&A it was. It might have been like November or October's Q&A from last year, but they said those words pretty much like almost word for word. So because of just that, from a game development point of view, I wonder like how hard it's going to be to account for all of these different choices, how they're going to trickle down and all that. And at the very end, how many endings a game like this could possibly even have, you know?
Yeah, that's the question I have. How many endings are they going to plan for that? Because anyway, I'm very curious to see how they're going to organize, and because I have no idea how a game is made, and I just can't imagine how many. I don't know. It's a bit staggering to just try to imagine, because we are going to have. I hope we're going to have a lot of missions, so maybe not all are going to be as important. So maybe some main quest. Anyway, we will see.
We will see. And then one of the other parts that I think we just have to call attention to, right, is the very end of the first paragraph. You are able to interact with celestial technology unlike other humans. And we know this is true. Regular humans cannot be interacting with celestial technology, at least not in the way that someone like June can. But again, I got to flag minor book spoilers. It's introduced very early on. If you're past the third chapter of the book, you'll already know what I'm talking about. So if you don't want to hear it, guys, make sure to tune out. But Uranix, or Uranix, however you pronounce it, they haven't been unveiled or revealed for the game yet. So I'm wondering where they're kind of going with this. And I think we already kind of teased, at least amongst ourselves, that maybe someone like Tom can be
Yeah.
through his experiments. So I'm very curious to see how far that they push June on the forefront like this when we know that others kind of can interact with some celestial technology. Maybe he has something that's even more significantly different than a Uranic that maybe even Uranics can't do. And that's what makes him even more special than that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Because from the short stories, The Bequest, we know that some humans have something, so maybe inherited something, and the question is what and from whom, because we have no mention, as you said, of the Uranics. So how do some people, like, I don't remember, no, they didn't name her, how she could actually have this perception of the tech. So we know that some humans can interact. Then we saw in the trailer Tom interact with the not the ship, but the how the navette in French. I have anyway I can't remember. Anyway, so we know that they interact with the ship, and the ship is from celestial origin. So
Yep.
how Tom is doing that, and we saw that he has this blue thing on his arm. So my first, without knowing the Uranic at that point, I was okay. He can interact. Is it something he did something like June? Because at that time I was just trying to find answers, and then we discover the Uranic in the book. It's like, is he a Uranic? Is it something else? So I'm very curious, June. What is the power June is going to have? Is it really? We don't know much about the percentage of celestial heritage he has, because all we know in the description later on the website, June has been engineered. So that opens a gate to so many speculation of the capacity June will have and how far it's going to be. So no, it's I have too many possibilities, too many speculation about that.
There's so much. There's just so much that it can be. There's so many options. Like, again, looking at that first paragraph, your mother, Ava, born of celestial heritage. Well, what's the heritage? Is she a celestial itself? Is she a changeling that was made by celestials for a certain purpose? Is she a Uranic, who is basically, as they describe in the book, a cousin to celestials, but also a cousin to humans? Like, it could be either or, and all of these unlock different possibilities that could affect June himself. If it's a straight up celestial, he could have powers that humans have no knowledge of, that they keep to themselves. If it's a Uranic, maybe he just has like the borderline surface level things that a celestial can do. You know, there are so many different things that can span because he has this celestial heritage that still remains unnamed, that it's just like, wow, there's so many possibilities, just like you're saying. And it's hard to pin it down right now, but like I was saying before, I'm sure as we're leading up to the release of the game closer and closer, they're going to nail this on the head, and we're going to have an entire episode just discussing about that once it's revealed.
Are they going to reveal that, or are they going to keep the real reason for the game so that it will be one of the things we are going to try to find? Because on the website, June is trying to understand who they are. So I say they because again, June can be either male or female. So I can say he because most of the time he's he, but June is going to try to find his answer. So on one hand, I want to know, and on one hand, I want to do the journey and find out myself. So it's I'm on the fence to have all the answers before, but that's certainly a part of the game that is interesting. They set up some very interesting background for this character. And you said something about the changeling are being created for a specific use by the Celestial. Ava could have been created by the Celestial for a specific use, and that could be that.
Yeah,
So we don't, because we don't know which Celestials.
Yeah, we have no idea. Right now, the prominent ones that have been revealed so far in terms of Celestials are just the Maruyama and the Crown Dominion Celestials, which the Crown Dominion seem to have like their own interlocking groups or factions within themselves. So it's even more harder to kind of pinpoint who exactly it could be if it is a Celestial race. But all of this stuff is all speculation, of course, which we love here on the Traveler Talk. But we got to move on to our next point, which is going to be, this is a quote that's taken from the site, and it's seemingly Jun talking about Orion and remembering him. I'm going to read this word for word, and it's going to give us a little bit more background as to the thoughts that Jun is having leading up to the events that we're going to be experiencing in the game. I was not made for Lydon. Each night I gaze up at the sky, searching for my place, my purpose, somewhere out there in the stars. I feel my path is leading me to the travelers, those brave souls who are leading the fight for humanity's salvation, like my father. They say Jun Aslan was a prolific traveler, commanding countless expeditions to dozens of star systems in his century-long reign. Sailing at the edge of light speed, he remained forever young, a vibrant, heroic leader for the people of Lydon. He valiantly led humanity's fight against the Celestials, the powerful alien civilizations who settled the cluster long before our arc ships arrived. Their technology far exceeds our own, yet despite the overwhelming odds, Orion stood tall as our champion against them, until one day, he didn't return. A mere infant when he left on his last exodus, I have no memories of Orion. My only knowledge of my father comes from the stories and legends. I often wonder what happened to him, what fate befell him, and what fate awaits me. Thoughts, Emma?
So many.
Yeah, so many of them.
Because first, I was very surprised because in this piece, Jun seems to admire Orion, but a little later, I think he knows that he's different. So that strange thing. Does he know why he has been created? That's something. But visibly, he admires a lot Orion. So that's something. I like this, but I wonder why. And my second question is, who took care of Jun during all this time? He say, my only knowledge of my father comes from stories and legend. Orion seems so greater than reality in the way he described his father. So I like that. I think it shows a bit of the character Jun is going to have, whatever the choice you have, because we don't know much about how we are going to be able to set up our character, but it gave us an idea of maybe the age Jun has or how he sees the world. So I like that. He has a dream. I don't know. I really like the way it gives me emotion. The way Jun speak about his father and the world thing. It was interesting, and of course, it's clear that they set up the Celestial to be the big baddies. So now it's interesting to see how it's going to play with that. So,
yeah, immediately for me, this excerpt here, it feels like it very much humanizes Jun, right? I mean, this guy, he's looking up to his father. He doesn't know him. He's out of his life because of being gone on that final exodus, as he mentioned at the end. But he looks up to him. He says, I've heard stories, I've heard legends, I've heard tales. Apparently, not only him, but countless people, maybe even on Lydon. I mean, it mentions here by essentially name that he led expeditions across countless star systems, had a century-long reign because he was in and out of exoduses. So there's a lot going on with Orion here. And I'm sure we're going to unveil a couple of things about Orion. And I don't know, the way that it's kind of set up in this kind of couple paragraphs here, it kind of gives me a little, I just got it right now, actually, as I was reading it. Right. Why do I feel like it might not be as good as it sounds here? Like maybe everything wasn't as good and dandy and nice like Orion was they are in the tales? Like, what if he's kind of like an asshole or something? Or what if he does it for personal gain, but it just happens to go ahead and help humanity and his family and all that? I don't think that's going to be the case, but it's just something that kind of like sparked in my mind now as I was reading, because all of this sounds great and dandy, but you know what they say, never meet your heroes, because then they end up being an ass, and you're like, well, why did I look up to them all this time? They're nothing like the stories I heard before. So I don't know, it just kind of sparked up in me right there.
I think because when we read on the website, you have a part that is Orion speaking about himself. And it's pretty evident that Orion is a ruthless person. And
that is true.
He imposed his rule on Leiden. Maybe for the greater good, but it's pretty clear that he didn't tolerate opposition. So I think Orion has a dream, and he was led by his dream, and he was ready to sacrifice everything to help Leiden to realize his dream. But this guy is not an angel. That's for sure. I'm pretty sure of that.
Possible. Yeah, I think that's 100% possible.
That doesn't mean he's not good, but he's not an angel.
It's like, in a way, selfish, because this is always helping you. It's always helping you. It kind of, the backsplash might be that it helps everybody, but this is what ultimately you want to do. Again, we're not shaping him up as to be the real big bad of Exodus, and you have to take down your dad or anything. It was just kind of an idea. Like, everything we've read so far on the site is kind of like, Orion good. Well, what's more of a red herring than Legends and Tales telling you that your dad's good? Well, he ends up being bad. That'd be a big twist for sure. And I just wanted to touch on this later excerpt here that we get in the timeline as well on the official Exodus site. It says, in 2476 LR, which is like the timescale that they use for years over there, Orion celebrates the birth of his perfect heir, Jun Aslan, genetically created with both celestial and human DNA. Shortly after, Orion embarks on his final exodus, never to return. Gideon Aslan, Jun's half-brother, seizes control of the dynasty and declares himself the ruler of Light Dawn, forcing Jun, still a mere child, to go into hiding. This kind of reminds me of what you were saying, like, who exactly, helped Jun grow up? We kind of thought maybe Ava at first, which is completely possible, but we don't know what role she plays. I mean, Gideon essentially now has control of the Aslan dynasty, and maybe he's kind of like a more tyrannical, like, anyone who was in leagues with my brother must go down, mom included. Or maybe he accepts the mom, being Ava, and she's kind of playing both sides. Like, she's whispering good things into Gideon's ear, saying that she's down for him to be the new leader, but then maybe in some part of the stronghold that they keep for the Aslan dynasty, she's hiding Jun out, and he's growing up in like a hole in the wall or something. We just have no real idea. One last thing also as well before I let you jump in here. It says he's created with both celestial and human DNA. We already know about that, the human hair or the celestial heritage from the last excerpt, but this one seems to be more direct, no? Both celestial, not celestial heritage, not celestial coded DNA, just celestial. So maybe Ava actually is a celestial. Your thoughts on everything I kind of just spewed out there so far?
The one thing that I first noticed was a perfect hair. How do you say that name?
Air.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to say the hair on my head. No. Okay. Sorry, French problem. Perfect. That stick to me. I don't like perfect things, and being human is not being perfect. So there was something there, and I think it speaks more about Orion than Jun. Orion celebrates the birth of his perfect heir, and what about Gideon?
Yeah, I mean,
he already has a son.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you feel about that? You use the older brother, and then you have this kid that it has celestial, or whatever percentage of celestial the kid has. And then your father say, hey, by the way, that's my heir, and it's perfect. Yeah, sure. I'm going to be happy with that. Exactly. So just that was like, okay, Gideon might not be the beep, beep, beep that we think. Maybe Gideon has a good reason to do what he did, maybe because when you read about Orion, he says, "Oh, I see that is the difference between me and my son Gideon," and I was like, "Okay, why?" What and that comes back to what you say about Orion not being maybe as good as as is painted in the legend and stories. So that's something that make me stick with the perfect thing. The genetically created, okay, so he's engineered and they dump celestial DNA in that guy. Like, okay, June is, it's going to be weird. And we know that the celestial is supposed to be the bad guy. So how is going to be for June to interact? Is June going to hide that? So that brings a lot of, I think, question to the interaction of June with the companion and the people in general. And it's funny because this simple paragraph has so many questions. The final Exodus, why do they all say that Orion it's last Exodus? Exodus can last so long, decades. How do they know Orion is not going to come back?
Mm-hmm.
That's something there that we need to find out. And
Yeah.
in the end, it's like Gideon is forced his little brother or sister to go into hiding. Even though I am sad for Gideon, I still think you have to be not too good to actually hunt a baby. So I hope Gideon is going to be a very complex character because in those few sentences you have the justification of Gideon rebelling against his father, and yet to be a bad guy because he's hunting his little brother or sister. So yeah, I think Gideon is going to be very interesting. I hope it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and like I touched on before, this kind of reminds me of like a medieval story plot line, right? Like where there's a
Mm-hmm.
king on the throne, he has a son, but for some reason or another, that son is bad blood. He's seen as yucky. They don't like him. The mom doesn't like him. Maybe he had him with a first wife, and now he's married to another woman, and then they have a child, and then that one's the heir, right? Like this is kind of what it reminds me of just
Yeah.
overall. It seems messy. It seems like it's filled with drama, and I'm going to be having buckets of popcorn while I play this game because it sounds delectable. I mean, like, this is just medieval Dynasty 101, and I love it. I love it, all the drama that we're looking to get here. And the more we talk about it, the more I'm convinced that Araya just might not be a good dude, because I hadn't even thought about what you pointed out there with the perfect heir and kind of that whole point that you were making about that. And it really does drive more of a wedge that maybe Orion isn't as good as, you know, the stories and the legends and the people in the museums hype him up to be, right? One of the things that we had here that we wanted to discuss is, why do we think that Orion and Ava actually created June? Now, we know he's essentially humanity's last hope, but was it because they really wanted to, like, they loved each other and they wanted to make a child together, whether it was genetical or not? You know, was it just based off of necessity because they needed someone with this celestial coded DNA to basically save humanity? Or is it all just an experiment? Is him being humanity's savior just like an afterthought, and all he really wanted was a perfect heir? I mean, at this point, I'm questioning everything now that we're talking about it. You know, like, it really could truly be he just wanted what he idealized as a perfect son, and the perfect son took to more like, I want to save the people around me, and now he's humanity's hope, humanity's future. Just kind of how they latched on to, at least in the legends and tales, Orion being, right? He was
Mm-hmm.
Orion's hope. He wants to save Lydon, but are the things that motivate him as pure as his intentions make him out to be?
Yeah. The thing is, maybe the problem is sometimes you have some people that works with ideal, and when you have ideal, sometimes you forget about the people around you. And I fear, and I say fear, that Orion is the type of guy. He has an ideal, he has a things, and he will just focus on that. And so I'm not sure the reason why Orion and Ava has a kid. One, I think it's going to depend how much Ava is a celestial. Because if Ava is like a celestial, like the one we see on the web page, is like how a celestial and a human fell in love.
Hmm.
Maybe I don't know, but my first reaction when I read all that was that it was business. Orion wanted something from the Celestials, and the Celestial wanted something for Orion, and maybe the rot is spreading even through the Celestial things,
Cut out there.
or they are celestial that want to have a job at another celestial society. We
Mm.
don't know much, so there's a lot of open things about the fact that Orion and Ava can just be okay. We create a guy, and he's going to act for us, and June is going to have this power, and he's going to be able to use technology in a way that you and me we can do that. And that could be very cold. The reason why I backtracked on that was because of a small video we never had the official release of this video. It just was some spot in a Q&A we had with James had and Chad, I think. And you could see the small image of someone we guess is Orion protecting this girl with some lifestone, and the fact that he's trying to protect this girl you can see celestials around. I thought, and what if this girl is Ava and actually Orion care for her? But I don't know. It's the fact that we speak back to perfect hair and Orion possible character. I want to believe in the love story, but
Yeah.
maybe it's both. Maybe they actually tried. It was business, and then it just fell for her. Or maybe his last exodus is actually going after her because the Celestial came back and take her away. That
Could
can be
be.
that too.
Yeah.
You know, actually, I would love that.
He said, "You know what? No, I want that one. Archetype, write it down. This is the one I want. Don't listen to the other ones. This one right here."
No, and it was fun because Orion could be a bad guy, and then he failed for this girl, and then he could be. We have so many possibilities. They have right now archetype have for what we saw in the Various trailer. They have created characters with deep emotion, deep humanity. So Gideon, as you say, and Orion, it's drama, but human drama, something that is visceral. I love that. They have this ability. So I won't be surprised to see that Orion is much more complex. That one that actually much more complex. That has, like we said.
Yeah. I mean, there's possibilities for everyone to be in, more than 3 dimensions, to be as complex as can be just as characters. I mean, we've talked about it plenty of times of Gideon being more than just, I want to be the heir that my dad never chose, so I'm taking the dynasty and now I'm going to rule over with a tyrannical fist. Well, what if his motivations are actually deeper than that? What if he truly does believe like only a human could lead humans to success? Someone who's like essentially, to call him what he is, like a half-breed like June, maybe he truly thinks that he couldn't lead humanity down the right path because he doesn't think that he has humanity's best hopes like in his intentions. Maybe he's split between both lines. I mean, in the picture where we have the 3, I'll pull it up right now, this variation on the right, if this is in fact female June like some of us theorize, what if this is June embracing their celestial heritage, and that makes Gideon go haywire. He's like, no, he can't be the heir. Look at him. He's not even human. So these could be all possible things that make the characters more complex, more than just, I don't like you because daddy doesn't love me and he loves you more because you're his perfect heir. They have a real shot at making this more than just the drama I was teasing before, but something that could really speak to a lot of people on a story and character standpoint. And I think that's something that this writing team, that I trust them in doing. I mean, we've got people like Drew Karpysh and Peter F. Hamilton, and they're all penning up stuff for this story. Like, dang, these characters, June, of course, included, are about to go crazy.
I just had an idea as another speculation.
Mm.
What if Orion and Ava get together to have a kid that actually can use a specific type of weapon, and Gideon is against that?
What do you mean by specific type of weapon?
A remnant technology specific, and they can use it. You need to have a specific mix of DNA to actually activate.
Like maybe like basically like a sequential code to launch a nuke.
Yeah, and
Ah,
then Gideon knows that, and I think it's just too dangerous, and he's against that. I think it's just a speculation, but that could there's so many possibility, and that
yeah.
was one of the speculation. Why not? It could be why Gideon is so against June and even his father, because actually maybe he's afraid that June will be able to access remnant technology that are very dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
and it could endanger Leiden. Maybe he knows firsthand how dangerous remnant technology are.
Yeah, and we get a tease of that, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, during the. I think it's the Elo. No, it's not the Elohim. It might be the Elohim article on the Exodus site. We have full-on apocalypse titans. For anyone that doesn't know what they are, we have barely any knowledge of them. But during the Remnant Wars, essentially, it's like full-blown titans that can destroy like civilizations and basically wreak havoc on battlefields. And even like studying one could lead to technological breakthroughs because they're from a time where a bunch of celestial, like knowledgeable species were alive. So there's a whole bunch of intricacies in that machine that is not only good for destroying life, but also just to base your knowledge off of. It could even be like June in Exodus 2 has the possibility, because of his DNA, of controlling one of these types of apocalypse
Mm-hmm.
titans, and you could choose to do so or not to do so, and that's its own like separate ordeal. And of course, we have no idea whether any of this can be true,
No.
but man, does it just gets the mind racing. There's so much
Yeah.
that June could do, and these are just kind of like the basic little excerpts that we have for him building up his character so far. Again, as I've said time and time again, I'm sure as we get closer and closer, we'll get more reveals, maybe more details about June. We've seen a little bit here in the trailer. Like, we know that he wears the Aslan Dynasty armor. Is that
Mm-hmm.
after he has a confrontation with Gideon? Does Gideon accept him or maybe get taken out as the ruler of the Aslan Dynasty and he gets his armor? Like, who knows, right? There's no way
No.
to really know.
That would be interesting. There are so many possibilities. I think one of the things I would like, but that would depend how Gideon is. It could be, for example, they still hate each other, but they need to ally to actually save Leiden. That would be interesting too. Just the common trope, I'm going to kill my brother because he's a bad guy, and or maybe he's not that bad. Maybe actually Gideon is a good leader for Leiden. We don't know. That's what is so interesting with Gideon.
Yeah, and June. I mean,
And June,
he's going to
absolutely.
be, from what we know, he's going to be like, June is a structured, framed character, but then we make all the like big decisions throughout the story for him. So I wonder what kind of like, because so far he kind of seems like not happy-go-lucky. I wouldn't describe him as that from the gameplay trailer. I'd describe him as like, oh, okay, he's assertive when he needs to be, but he also knows how to have like a relaxed demeanor, and that's who June seems to be structured from the gameplay trailer.
Yeah, I'm a bit. I don't know, because one of the things is that I keep wondering about is how much the fact that he has celestial heritage and not just a bit is going to impact his relation and how he sees himself compared to others. Maybe not just apart because he feels drawn to the stars and things like that, but people don't like celestials. And changeling and awaken, we don't know, but there is a bad mood. You don't. I don't think it's going to say to him, "Hey, hi, I'm Alpha Celestial. How are you?" I was surprised he was so light, but on the other hand, he needs to survive. So maybe that's a face he has to, keep interacting, and looks like he's tougher than actually he feels. So I'm curious to see what is the real character of June.
I also think that's going to depend on how June looks, right? I'm not saying
Mhm,
from the character creator standpoint. I'm going to bring it back to, again, our theory on if these are
mhm.
all June. If he looks more on the right, then maybe people will be a lot more apprehensive to meeting, dealing with June and stuff like that. But when you're in the middle, maybe they're just like, well, he's just a human with like an enhanced hand. Like he's just a regular dude. So yeah, I don't mind
Mm.
talking to June or dealing with June or doing X, Y, or Z or giving a job opportunity to June. But maybe if you embrace your more celestial heritage, as we think that the stuff on the right is, maybe people just aren't keen to playing ball with you because, like you said, maybe they hate Celestials. And even if you're half a Celestial, they half hate you, you know?
Yeah.
So who knows?
No, that's. I'm curious to see how they are going to handle that because I can't. I hope they are going to take that into account when we are going to interact with other people as June. I hope they are going to integrate that the fact that we are half celestial is going to how we are going to play that with changeling that have been oppressed, for example, or I hope that we are going to have to face that. Not just
Yep.
okay, you have this background, so now you are heroes, so fight. Yeah, I want.
Yeah, you need it to mean something. And I feel like
Yeah,
everyone is on the same page with you. I don't think there's a single person who's like, yeah, he's celestial, but let's just say he's human for the story. Like, I
yeah.
feel like everybody wants it to have some implication. And
Hmm.
then kind of just let's round up with the last major thing that they've said about June so far. In a Q&A, James Olin was asked, like, what kind of traits would you say that June has, or who would you kind of figure him to be when it comes to other fictional properties? Well, he said that Paul Atreides and Indiana Jones are basically what he would sum up Dune being. Now, I myself am not very familiar with Dune and Paul Atreides, and I have very kind of background knowledge from watching them as I grew up with Indiana Jones. So this is kind of more your space, Emma. Let me know, what do you think about the comparisons that James drew up? Where you think it could go for June, and if there's anything interesting about these two characters that might also give like a little hint as something secret for June too, if there's anything like that. I don't know.
Well, Indiana Jones is the easiest, I think, character. The fact that June is a scavenger and he's a traveler, so maybe we can imagine June, as you said, with the same type of curiosity and desire to discover things and to dig deep and find all those interesting relics. And also, not just that, Indiana Jones wants to understand and not just bring back the shiny things to the museum, but to understand what's beyond, and it gets involved in stories of the people around those artifacts. So
Mm.
Indiana Jones is, on one side you have this professor that is bored at university, and then he's this guy, oh yeah, I'm going to find this artifact and bring back to the museum, but he knows about it, he knows the story, he's passionate about that, and then he gets involved each time someone is touched by that. So I like to think that as a traveler, June might get, oh, it's remnant technology, yeah! But then he realized that they are, I don't know, awakened around, and if he touched that, it's going to impact the society, and maybe he's going to get, okay, how do I interact with that and try to minimize the
Like
impact?
repercussions. Yeah.
Yes. So that might be what, and the last thing is, Indiana Jones is irreverent of the gods in general, but
Mm.
each time he's faced with godly manifestation, so it's interesting. So I wonder how June is has the same okay, celestial, they are almost god, but I'm going to do and enter this location, and I don't care about the celestial, I'm going to go and fight, and maybe that's that.
Mm.
My take on Paul is more, I am when he say that about Paul Atreides, I was like, oh my god, what? Because Paul is a very complex character.
Mm.
Most people might think about Paul as a hero. Paul is not a hero.
Oh.
No, he's not. And it's not like he's not a bad guy. He's a guy who has this capacity to see the future, but he has all this power, all this responsibility, and he tries to manipulate the events, and he's trying to avoid events so that he can avoid this war that it's coming. He's crushed, and he has to do choices that are actually going to destroy part of the universe. He see what he needs to do, and he knows the cost. And at one point in the books, he balks. He just, no, I am not ready to pay the price. But he has already paid so much. So I don't know what I'm going to take from Paul for June, because did he just say that he's like Paul because he will have those choices, important choices to do, and it will have an impact on a long time. So the time dilation enjoys the consequences over decades. Maybe just that, or it's something deeper and darker, because actually maybe the fact that he's half celestial will force him to make some choices that June does not want to make. But be compared to Paul Muad'Dib, oh my god, that's heavy. I could speak because Paul is really. When you read Dune, just Dune, you see that this kid that grew up, there's so much, and he does horrible things too to survive and to get his revenge. So Paul is really brutal. So no, and there were things that when you read the book at one point you know he fights against beasts, and I'm speaking human beasts, and you want him to win at any price, but you know that there are some things he's going to do that are not ethical. So no, Paul is anything but a simple hero. He's a bit of it, but he's not just that. And in the end, even he became not the bad guy, but anyway. I think that's Frank Herbert say that it was his way of a warning against Messiah, that you have to be careful when people are trying to lead you somewhere. So that might be that. Anyway, that.
I mean, it was very enlightening for sure. I mean, just real quick, your like rant here about Atreides reminds me of kind of the stuff we kind of talked about with Orion. You know, you're kind of rooting for him. Maybe he's trying to lead you down the right path, but maybe he's got to do some messed up things to get you there. And, you know, maybe he's not ready to pay the prices. I mean, the thing that immediately caught my attention by you saying something like that, again, gonna turn it over to this visual right here. We've talked about it on the Discord time and time again. What if there's a scenario where the only way to get out is for June to take a silica egg that for some reason he has with him and turn into the daemon on the left, and you're forced to do it? But what if you're not ready to you don't want to, you don't care, you don't want to, you'll pay whatever price it is, but you're not turning into that daemon, right? So like that's my thing. Like, yeah, maybe you've lost your loved ones, maybe you lost your entire like your family, maybe you just lost your significant other that you romanced in the game due to time dilation or something like that, but you're not turning into a daemon and losing your humanity. And that could be something like you were touching on with Paul Atreides. Like, you've paid so much, but maybe you just don't want to pay that fee again. Maybe you're not ready to pay that price, and maybe you're not ever going to be, and that's why you can't really be humanity's savior, but you're ready to do everything else, right? And that's kind of what you were reminding me with that one. For me, on the surface level, like I said, I've seen the movies before, but just as I was a kid, I haven't gone back and rewatched them for Indiana Jones. First thing that strikes me is like treasure hunter, explorer, right? Those are the things I think of with Indiana Jones. And I mean, I definitely see it when it comes to trying to find remnant tech. And something that we saw even on the Star Heist first episode, it felt like, right? When they're trying to find I forget the orb's name, but the orb.
Archon sphere? Oh,
Akins, something. Yeah,
Something.
I don't remember the name, but yeah, the sphere that they find, which again, I'm pretty sure a sphere is just remnant celestial technology. Like that's what it always looks like for some reason. Like sphere equals remnant tech. That's what I've known so far from the reveal trailer and the Exodus secret level episode and the gameplay trailer. Like a big glowing sphere must get. Like that's all I know.
That's a good point for the game. We are going to follow that.
If someone gives you a decision between a glowing cube and a glowing sphere, you grab the sphere every time.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you had to say about the mashup? Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. It's okay. No, it's interesting because you actually can have, maybe you see some things about Indiana Jones that I didn't see because I know I saw those movies so many times. So sometimes having a distant, a more distant view from the characters, and no, I'm just very worried. Not worried, but I'm very intrigued. Why specifically they spoke about Paul? Indiana Jones, it's fun in itself, and if you say, "Oh, June is like an Indiana Jones," I say, okay, that fits with the traveler things, and
yeah.
He's a good guy, but the fact that they added Paul is like, and I was thinking about maybe it's Orion that wasn't ready to pay the price, and that's why he created June.
I like that. That's facts. Okay, I like that. Kind of just like, hey, like what if the key to saving humanity in this war between Celestials and humans, right, is like you have to give your life to do it. And Orion's like, well, I'm not going to do that. But my genetically engineered son can. Like that makes complete sense because at that point it's like, well, is he really alive? Well, yeah, we're the character. We're playing as June. Of course we think he's alive, but would Orion see a genetically engineered human, basically an experiment to be alive in his eyes? And then maybe Orion, I mean, we don't know this, but maybe Orion hates Celestials. And then he sees June as like just a half-blood, right? Essentially, and he doesn't even like June. But this is Perfect Air, so that contradicts that. I don't even know. But man, it's just that, again, so many possibilities. So many. And I love it. I love it. It's just they give us so little, but it's also a lot to start thinking about. And that's what I've so far loved about everything revealed for Exodus.
And the thing is, the lore they give us, the world building they give us, it allows us to go deep in the speculation because there's so much to dig and look and try to understand. I really love that. That's really a part of the game that I love, and I can't wait to have the players and book for that.
Yeah. Hopefully this month, but March and April are the teased dates. But we're hoping it's March.
Whatever. I'm keeping an eye on my email box.
Yeah, me too. Every day, refresh. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with these topics before we go ahead and move on to our intro or outro?
Yes, of course. A lot of things, or no.
Too much time. But all right, guys, that does go ahead and wrap up our second episode of Traveler Talk. This one mostly based around June. Hey, you got a couple of details you may not have dug up on the site, and you got a ton of speculation on who June, Orion, and Ava's motivations and who they are could actually be, along with some Gideon talk as well, which I didn't even think about until we brought him up on some of the excerpts. But man, is it fun as always, Emma. Of course, tell them where they can find you, where they can look up some of your stuff if they're interested.
Okay, so I have a Tumblr page. Yes, Tumblr still exists, actually. And if they are curious, I try to post a lot about the game and also some speculation. I try to post the videos. And if they have questions, on Tumblr, you can just post things, ask me questions. I will be happy to exchange. And I'm going to try to find all the little bit of details and go wild on the speculation, of course.
Yes, of course.
And if they're curious, and actually let myself write a fanfic about in the Exodus world. So the fanfic is posted on the Tumblr page. It's called Family, and actually it's about travelers that go on a mission, and nothing is as I'm forgot. My English is.
Nothing's as it seems.
Thank you very much. It's late for me. That's my brain is stop working. So
You're
nothing is
good.
as it seems, and it's a lot about revenge as well. So I had fun writing that, and if they want to try that, it's another short story, not official, of course.
Guys, I've read it myself. It is actually an amazing read. The link to her Tumblr will be down in the description at Emma the Sci-Fi Gal on Tumblr. And of course, you can find me at Somehotcookies here on YouTube, or if you found us over there on Spotify, we're also uploading the episodes there. You can find my personal social media accounts on YouTube, Twitter or X, TikTok, Instagram. You guys know where to find me. Go ahead and follow us both. And I gotta mention, guys, if you're not a part of the official Reddit for the game or the unofficial Discord, go ahead and sign up or join those places as like a community member. We're over there all the time talking shop on Exodus with a lot of great people over there. Highly recommend it. I'll go ahead and link the Reddit there down below in the description as well. But from Emma and I, that wraps up today's episode, and we hope time dilation hits so we can catch you guys faster on episode 3, which is still undecided, but we'll talk to you guys there. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Bye.